Kia ora.
Question number 12, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for ACC. What recent reports, if any, has he seen on the role returning to work can play in accident rehabilitation?
Mr Speaker, the recent reports I've received show marked improvements in ACC's rehabilitation rates. These deteriorated every year from 2000 to a low in 2009 of 90.6%, but have improved in each year under this government and are back up to 93.6%, noting that a single 1% improvement, Mr Speaker, results in improvement of $500 million in ACC liabilities, reinforces how important returning to work is in the effective management of ACC.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, does he believe that government employers should lead by example when it comes to providing opportunities for injured employees to return to work, such as providing opportunities for injured employees to return to light duties? If so, why?
The Honourable Dr. Nick-Smith.
Mr Speaker, each individual government agency decides on their own response. I have to say a large number of government employers are part of the accredited employers program that have shown quite stunning rehabilitation rates, improvements, and also in terms of lower accident rates. I just give one example. New Zealand Post's injury rate has fallen 24%, and the degree to which they are bringing workers back at an early stage by having them on limited duties is resulting in them making very considerable savings.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Order. Before I call the Honourable Member for point of order, can I ask members in the House, question 12 is just as important as any other question, yet the number of conversations going on around the House mean it's very difficult to hear answers, but point of order has been called by Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, that was very interesting information from the Minister. I wonder now whether he could turn his attention to answering the question I asked, which was whether or not government employers should lead by example in this matter.
Speaking to the point of order.
Well, speaking to the point of order, the Honourable Dr. Nick-Smith.
Mr Speaker, it was a very broad question covering all number of government agencies. I simply said that it's up for each government agency to choose their own approach, albeit a large number are in the accredited employers program, and I gave a specific example with respect to New Zealand Post.
I must say I thought that in fact it was the answer to the primary question that I thought the member may have expressed some concern over the answer rather than that first supplementary. But the Minister is aware there's concern over whether or not questions are being answered. I invite Chris Hipkins to continue, but I'd ask the answers to be more specifically related to the question. Chris Hipkins.
Sure, Mr Speaker. Is it consistent with government policy for the fire service to insist that injured employees, otherwise able to return to light duties, use up all of their accrued sick leave and then be placed on unpaid leave rather than return to work? If so, why?
Mr Speaker, I would want to follow up with the New Zealand Fire Service because claims I've heard previously with that particular employer have been varied from what actually occurred. I would note that since the New Zealand Fire Service has been part of the accredited employer program, we have seen a 21% reduction in the number of injuries, and we have seen a 21% reduction in the number of injuries, and we've also seen a 26% drop in the number of lost time claims. And I think all members of this House that care for the injury of our firemen would be pleased with those excellent results.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, why should a firefighter who has been injured, possibly in the course of their duties, be forced to take unpaid leave rather than return to work when their ACC's compensation has ceased? And how is that consistent with his government's commitment to preserve the 24/7 comprehensive nature of ACC cover?
Mr Speaker, the New Zealand Fire Service is part of the accredited employer program. Its entry to the accredited employer program was actually approved by the previous government. The accredited employer program sets down the very specific conditions that an employer must meet. If the member has information that the New Zealand Fire Service is not meeting its obligations under the accredited employer program that it approved, I'd be happy to look into it. I'm not aware of the specific example.
And that brings to a close questions for oral answer. I call on